It is Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. This is another spirited edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. Producer Dan along for the ride as well. You doing all right? Did you hang out with Matthew Stafford last night?
We did. We had a nice little dinner. And yeah, had good times. We actually were watching this the Jets game that we were talking about pre-show. We had it on our phones, kind of watching it, and saw the Aaron Rodgers injuries, and it's
Did he know immediately, by the way?
He diagnosed it pretty quickly. You know, he saw the toe down and then the heel kind of go, and the calf was still flexed, and so he kind of knew. But it was a great dinner basides that.
Well, did he say he wasn't getting calls from a 212 area code during the game, like from the Jets, seeing if he getting traded?
I think they had their chance. Didn't happen.
All right. Tip of the cap. We're going to go to the Rangers' #1 overall prospect, Evan Carter, who had a huge night north of the border. His first show homer, and it was a no-doubter. The fun thing about it was that it got thrown back, and actually the Blue Jays were nice enough to collect the ball, and they were like, yeah, we know. And they threw it in the dugout, which I thought was kind of cool.
I love it. And, you know, it makes that ball even more valuable is that Schneider touched it. He's the best player in the world right now.
Like ever.
Hey, remember that.
Like
that was awesome, though. First homer, and then Toronto's a great place to do it in because they typically do throw visiting homers back, so it's perfect.
Okay, cool. And he also had, speaking of throws, Carter had a great throw to get your lookalike Kevin Kiermaier at the dish.
We need to talk about Kevin Kiermaier on the show one of these days. He's still putting up great defensive numbers.
Yeah, no, he's been a nice pickup for them. Speaking of show homers, do I hear 50? 50 for Matt Olson? I think I do.
This one to left field. Schwarber going back. There's number 50. A 2-homer night, and now he's one away from Andrew Jones for tying the Braves' single-season home run record.
How surprised are you that he has been this good in his 2 seasons in Atlanta?
I mean, I want to say I'm surprised because, you know, what he's doing is incredible. He's 1 dot in it now on the season. We're talking about 50. We need to, I hope we need to realize how many home runs 50 is. It's ridiculous. You need to realize it. It's crazy. And you know what? Like a guy like this, 60 is not out of the realm. I know we only have 3 weeks left, but he can get absolutely scorching hot. I would love to see him get to 55 really quickly and have 2 weeks to hit the other 5. I think that would be incredible. I'm not that surprised because I know what kind of person he is, and I know the drive that he has, and I know that he's comfortable there now, and a lot of things. I mean, he's just completely, his numbers have all gone up as opposed to last year. I'm looking at run value by pitch type on his Baseball Savant page. By the way, beautiful Baseball Savant page. He's already surpassed his run value on 4-seamers. He's got 16 run value on 4-seamers as opposed to 13 last year. Remember, this is a counting stat, so it continues to go up. There's not a pitch. He's seen 11, 12 types of pitches this year, from a 4-seamer all the way down to a screwball, right? They have them all listed. The only pitch that he has a negative run value on, and he's seen 9 of them, is a slurve. Whatever that means. 4-seamer, 16 run value, slider, 12 run value, sinker 9, changeup 9, cutter 3, go on down the list. So he's become a complete hitter. And if you go back to last year, 4-seamer, 13 run value, slider was at 0, sinker at -2. So basically what this is saying is he don't care what you throw. He's not just hunting heaters. He's getting any pitch in the middle part of the plate and depositing it over the fence. It's a great feeling as a hitter when you can get to the point where you're not chasing hunting pitches, where you can just sit back and say, man, I'm just going to see it out of your hand. And he has that quiet ability to do that, where it really looks like he's seeing the ball sooner than everybody else. You can get to a point where you can really pick it up out of a pitcher's hand, and then everything else is just money. Now it's about timing. His timing has been great all year long. And so, I mean, I guess, yeah, I am a little bit surprised he's been this good, Chris. Like, this is superstar, only 2 or 3 people in the game each year one dotted. So I'm a little surprised he's been this good. But again, knowing him, like, he's had this in him. And I don't think this is like a fluke season. I think this could be something he does a couple more times throughout his career where he just gets hot like this all season long. So I don't know, man. Like, I'm happy we're shining a light on him. I know we talk about him a lot, but he really deserves more and more because what he's doing is nuts.
Well, truth be told, I'm wearing a Cubs hat today, and that's only because I cannot find my Braves hat. It's the only one I cannot find, and I've wanted to wear it during all the Acuna discussions. I have looked high and low. So, Braves fans, I apologize. Just know that I would be wearing a Braves hat in his honor today, and I would have done it several times with Acuna, but I'm lost. I start to wonder if he's a 500 homer guy. I've started to think a little bit about it. He's at 226, and he doesn't turn 30 until the beginning of next season. And you're right. That dude gets homer hot. And he had 3 seasons out in Oakland, cavernous Oakland, where he had at least 34 homers. He hit 39 one year. But it's just, and I made this comparison recently on the show, is that the Braves have had an embarrassment of riches at first base, and they're going to have it for 2 straight decades now. You're going to have 10-plus years of Freddie Freeman and 10 years of Matt Olson. It's going to be like the Packers going from Favre to Rodgers at quarterback. It's different position, but you understand what I'm getting at. Like, you're going to have elite stuff. And I think that Matt Olson, particularly in the last month, I don't know if you noticed, but when he was hitting all those homers, his average was hovering right around 240-ish, something like that. And I know we're not big into batting average, but I think there's something to be said about it, particularly for a power hitter. Like, I hated it when Adam Dunn would hit 44 homers and his batting average would be 198. That would bother me.
You and A-Rod have the same take. You just put out a video about – did you see this video that A-Rod put out?
No, I didn't. But all I'm saying is that sort of stuff bothered me. Like, I understand that batting average is not the end-all, be-all, and I accept that. But I do pay attention when a guy improves his batting average by 30 points when he's a slugger.
All right, I'll cherry pick his stats for you. On let's see, June 14th, the beginning of the first game of a doubleheader, he was hitting 227. That was his low.
Yeah.
So since June 14th, he has hit 325 with a 421 and a 727 for the 1.1er.
Yeah. So I understand where we have moved as a sport, and I fully embrace it, but I do think there's something to that, don't you, as a hitter?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think for your psyche, batting average matters a little bit. I don't think like overall numbers it means anything, but for your psyche, like if you're hitting 200 and you're walking, it's not and then your on base is 330 or whatever. It doesn't feel as good as if you're hitting 250 and your on base percentage is the same. Like, even though you're getting on base at the same clip, it just feels better when you go up to hit, knowing that, like, hey man, I could still place this ball somewhere and I'm going to find grass. Like, it's just something mentally it does for you.
Yeah, I think it's really, I think he's had a phenomenal last few seasons. And does it shock me we're at 50? I suppose not. Here's what might shock me. If he does let's say he ends up hitting 58, he's still locked into that 4 slot in the MVP voting, isn't he?
Dude, I don't know. Yeah.
He's definitely not getting 1 or 2.
No, he won't. So it'd be between him and Freddie. That's interesting.
Yeah, but Freddie could hit 65 doubles or 70 doubles.
I mean, I think I would rather have 50 homers than 65 doubles. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that's basically like 100 doubles is 50 homers.
Interesting.
Right? That's how you run it up.
Another guy who went over the fence last night in Seattle. Number 44 became the 44th member of the 30-30 club at the ripe old age of 22.
The 1-1. Out to center. This is cranked. It's way back. It is gone! Julio! A game-tying
things before we get to the question. Number one, that was an unbelievable call. Great call. I loved every bit of it. Dude, you tell me, that ball looked like it was like 8 inches off the ground.
He's got great bat-to-ball skills. That pitch is down and uses some leverage there, uses his legs, drops the barrel exactly where it needs to be. That thing was loud off the bat. I don't know what the exit velo on that was, but I'm guessing 108 plus.
So the big question here is, has Julio impressed you more in year 2 than he did when he wowed us as a rookie?
You can look at it a couple different ways. You could look at it as his numbers are almost identical as to what they were last year. So if you're looking at 2023 and comparing it to 2022, 287 this year, 284 last year, 342 OBP this year, 345 OBP last year, 847 OPS this year, 853 last year. So his numbers are like almost identical, which leads me to believe like this is who he is. Like you're going to get a guy that's, mid eights OPS with the potential to really bring it up, once he's 22 years old, Chris. But I think it does impress me because, and I did the same thing for Julio as it just did for Matt Olson on July 24th. Hitting 244, 311, 398. His OPS was at 709. That's not a superstar.
Oh,
that's a guy that can play defense and is like providing a little bit of spark offense. He can steal some bags. That's not a superstar. So, you start to wonder what's going to happen with this guy. Is this who he is? Is this more in line with who he is? Because we don't have a big track record with Julio, right?
Right.
But then since that day, Rosie, July 25th through September 11th, 40 games. 383, 415, 738 for the 1.1. He's hit 16 homers, 46 RBIs in 40 games. So, I always say, get to 162. Let me see what your numbers are then. Then we'll talk about what kind of season you had. Guys that are good players are going to get to their averages. They're going to be who they are. Julio is who he is, man. He's a superstar. So I think in that regard, I will say this year is more impressive because there's a little more pressure on him. He's got the big deal. He started out slowly, and he figured it out. So I like it.
I'm way more impressed with year 2 than year 1 because of exactly what you said. I remember what I said about his All-Star game appearance. I said he doesn't belong there. So the only reason I said, if this game's not in Seattle, he is not an All-Star. And I firmly believe that. He was not good the first half. In fact, that whole team offensively was just not good. They put the ball over the fence, but they had way too many guys that were striking out at an unbelievable pace. And I remember saying that if the Mariners were just kind of hovering around 500. That's what they felt like for so long. I said, if they're going to do anything, he's got to be the MVP candidate that we think. And I think he probably put that on himself too. He's like, shit, I got to get going here. And you are right. His second half has been unbelievable. So 1 daughter, 17 homers in 50 games compared to just 13 in the first half. His batting average, once again, not a big deal, but it is 100 points higher in the second half. Something to be said there. And you just feel it. I was watching that at Bat Live last night, and I was like, this fucker's going to do it, isn't he? And sure enough, he did. Now, they ended up losing the game in extras. But, yeah, I'm proud of him. I'm really proud of him at 22 to be able to turn it on like that and not let the pressure get to him. And on top of everything else, he is one of those guys that is so likable. I think he is going to be one of those guys for decades where everybody is cheering for him unless he's playing your team on a given night.
Well, he does everything well. I mean, the guy's a good-looking guy, great smile, like his fast, can play defense, can hit homers, he can change the game in so many different ways, and he's got a great name, Julio.
Yeah, but it's a little bit more than that. I know plenty of
good-looking
assholes. I mean,
well, yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah. Since day one, since that butt white up there in Seattle tried to say that he couldn't be the face of a franchise because he didn't speak English in his first language. You remember the guy he was like speaking to the Poobah Club or something on Zoom?
He talked about he said Julio Rodriguez couldn't be the face. I thought that was Stephen A. Smith saying that Otani couldn't be the face of
Oh,
baseball.
Stephen A. said
Same,
that,
same,
too.
same.
It was similar deal. I forget what that jerk-off's name was.
That
Jimmy
was
did a whole.
hilarious.
Jimmy
Yeah, I
did a
know
whole
who you're
breakdown
talking
of
about. I forget what his name is too. And good. I'm glad I forgot what his name is. It doesn't deserve me to remember his name.
Yeah. So, I mean, good for Julio, man. He's just awesome. He's fun to watch, and he is great for the game. Just a big fan. You know what I'm a fan of? Farmer's Dog. That's right. Several months ago, our pooch, Sydney, who we're going to celebrate our 10-year anniversary rescuing her at during the Fall Classic of 2023. We changed her food up to this. We tried it. And now every time we open the refrigerator for anything, she runs over to the fridge. She loves this food so much. She's like, is it time to eat? I'm like, no, we already fed you like 20 minutes ago. And she wants more already. The Farmer's Dog is the way to go, whether you've got a veteran dog like my Sydney or you got a brand new pup out there. It makes and delivers fresh, healthy dog food. It is developed by vets. It is nutritionally balanced. It is made from real, healthy ingredients to human food safety standards. It's a big deal because some of these places, other dog food companies, you don't want to know what they're doing in their kitchens. The Farmer's Dog also sends the food pre-portioned specifically for your dog. It's based on their unique nutritional needs. All you do is you go to their website, you fill out a little 5-minute questionnaire about your dog. You say, how old's your dog? How much activity do they get? You know, how often do they eat? Do they like wet or dry? The whole bit. You're covering everything, and they're going to take care of you. It's that simple. Farmer's Dog will love your pooch as much as you do. And once again, it doesn't matter the age of your dog or the health or anything else because they want to invest in your puppy's life. Today, get 50% off your first box of these fresh, healthy food, thefarmersdog.com/JohnBoy. Plus, free shipping. That's a big deal because it's a nice, healthy size box. That is thefarmersdog.com/JohnBoy. Half off. I'm telling you, that box comes to our door and Sydney gets running up there. And the best thing about the Farmer's Dog, when you order it and you give that food to your doggy, your dog will go, row, row, row.
Yeah, he will. Does that mean I love you?
Yes, that's what that means.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Brewers fans are loving this. Brandon Woodruff tossed a shutout in a 12-0 win over Miami. Cubs came back in Colorado, so the Brewers remain 3-up in the division. Milwaukee, we know they got the big three out there. Is that enough to make a deep October run or not?
Wow. Are you just talking about the pitching staff?
Yeah.
Or like the whole team?
Listen, they're going to go as far as those three take them, right? We can agree on that?
Okay, we're talking about pitching. They have plenty of pitching because you meant okay.
Can that override the fact that this offense is shoddy at best?
Yes, because in these short series, it's about moments. It's about hitting with runners in scoring position. It's about, I think sometimes run prevention means a lot in the postseason. And the Brewers, that's the name of their game. They want to be run preventers. Now, does their offense have to go? Do we need some timely hitting out of them? Yes, but that's kind of what they count on. That's their MO as an organization. Let's get to the postseason. Let's have dominant run prevention, which means pitching and defense. And let's see if we can get some timely hits. And maybe we'll smoke a 3-run homer every once in a while. So now they're never going to overwhelm you offensively, but because they have those pitchers, and I'll add Wade Miley into that as their fourth guy in a 7-game set. And they have a great bullpen that they can rely on. I think that's plenty. They're going to have to really get timely, great hitting to move on throughout the playoffs, which, isn't always going to happen. But if they get hot, if one guy in that offense, like if a Yelich or Adames really gets hot and comes up big in situations throughout the postseason, they can go as far as anybody in the playoffs. I truly believe that. I think their team, as long as they get those big hits, is just as well equipped as anybody.
I think they're going to have to go on a run, kind of like the 2005 White Sox did, who I believe through 4 straight complete games in the ALCS. I believe that's the way it went. Wasn't it like Garland and Contreras and was El Duque on that team? I think. Maybe Burley.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
John
Whatever.
Garland. That's a throwback for me. Okay.
I want to say it was something like that. Freddie Garcia, I think, was on that team too.
Oh my gosh, you were hitting all the notes today.
I'm pretty sure that might be the group of guys. Anyway, I believe they had 4 straight complete games in the ALCS, something crazy like that. That's the only way the Brewers do this, man. That's the only way, is that they got to get such serious length, and that doesn't happen in these playoff games anymore, man.
You think they have to have length? Like you think they have to go like why? I think their bullpen is good enough to cover innings. I think if they get 6 out of their starters, they have plenty of pen to get 7, 8, 9. Those last 9 outs.
Do you know how hard it is to win games 2-1 in the playoffs, man?
It's hard
with those at bats that grind you down. And if they knock your starter out, it means that you could use 4 guys out of the bullpen, and all those guys have to be on. You know, like
not all of them. Not all of them. You know how they go in the playoffs. You pare it down big time.
Maybe.
I just think that
offense, dude. They have 2 everyday players whose WAR is above 2, just 2. Yelich and Contreras. They're the only team that currently holds a playoff spot with a sub 700 OPS. At some point,
they're also second in the league in defensive run save. They have these pitchers, so it's like that's the name of the game.
But it's a thin needle you're trying to.
Sure, I agree on that 100%. Yes, it's not the way I would approach it, but that's the way they approach it.
Yeah, I don't feel great about it. I want it to happen because I dig their team. I always love their spirit. I'm a big Adames guy, and I'd like to see them get going. But man, they throw 9 no-hit innings and lose to the Yankees.
That's tough. That's a tough one.
Couldn't you see that happening in the playoffs too, where they throw a gem and they lose?
Yeah, your Guardians did it last year. Did you go like 16 innings or something like that with like no runs?
Oh yeah, well there were no runs in the Oscar Gonzalez.
No hit, but yeah.
Well, right, it's hard to win.
It is
very hard to win.
I agree.
That, of course, that series win for Cleveland came against the Tampa Bay Rays. Speaking of the Rays, they kicked off a big 7-game road trip on the right foot, but on the wrong hand. During their win in Minnesota, Jose Siri hit by pitch. He's got a broken bone in his hand. He's out several weeks. He's hopeful he can get back for the playoffs, but they're not sure at this point. Remember, the Rays are already without 60% of their opening day rotation because of arm issues. Is this kind of the last blow that the Rays can take?
The last one and still be successful, or are you saying this has knocked them out? Because I think they still can be successful. I think they can still be successful. Jose Siri offensively has been pretty good. He's slugged. Mm-hmm. Defensively, that's kind of like where his real value lies, in my opinion. He's very good out there. But they have other guys that have played in center, this year. They have, and the guys that are raking, Josh Lowe, Luke Raley, both have spent not a lot of time out there, like 9 games apiece, something like that. So I think they have the pieces to supplement in center field. I don't think this is like the final blow for them. I know they've been dealing with injuries all year, but they've been able to overcome them all year long. I mean, they're only, what are they, 3 games back of the best record in the American League? Mm-hmm. You can't count this team out, man. Like they're like like when a lizard gets his tail cut off, it just grows a new tail. Yeah, it seems like the Rays are able to do that a lot, and eventually it'll catch up to them if more and more people get hurt. There's only so many tails you could grow as a lizard. That's not true. I don't know if that's true. But so no, I don't think this is knocking them out of any sort of World Series run or anything like that. In fact, I guess they said they're expecting him possibly back in 3 weeks. So I don't know what kind of fracture this was. That doesn't seem like it's a normal fracture, but I think it's a tough blow, because you want that defensive prowess out there in center field, but I wouldn't say this takes them out of any sort of World Series run.
No, I would agree with it. One thing he also does is he's part of that spirit there.
Yeah,
and
he'll still be there, though.
A lot of it. yes, he will be, but it's different when a guy's playing as opposed to not playing. They still have other guys that can do it and they have fun out there, but Siri is one of those dudes that's just. I wonder. He's probably one of those guys that is a great teammate, but when you go against him, you're like, ugh, tired.
a lot of those guys.
Yeah, right. So I do agree. I don't think that there's a franchise in this sport certainly that's better equipped to handle it. They're just like, okay. I mean, shit. We don't even bring up Wander Franco's name.
That's crazy too. I mean, he was like having an incredible year,
right?
And now he's gone from baseball.
Right. And I didn't even ask it in the question. I didn't even bring it up until I just thought about it now. That's insane.
He's still leading their team in WAR.
Siri does bring some pop, though. So they got to. He's second on the team in homers. I think he's got 25. He steals some bags. He's got a dozen swipes. So he does provide some stuff. There's no question. It's more than just the glitz, the glamour, and the swag and all that sort of stuff. He's turned into a solid ball player.
Sure.
No question. No question. Hopefully we'll see him back. All right, last thing. Pete Crow Armstrong, congratulations. The Cubs' #1 prospect. He made his Cubs debut last night, win out in Colorado. He pinch hit. He had a sac bunt, played some defense. Of course, his mom is the actress Ashley Crow. She was at the game. Loved seeing the embrace afterward. That is just gives me goosies, man. I love seeing it. We're watching the video right now for those of you that are audio only. It's great. What a great, great, great moment. I always love it. Anyway, Ashley Crow played the mom in the movie Little Big League. If you could have appeared in one baseball movie, what would it have been?
First, I want to congratulate PCA on getting there. Well-deserved. He's actually in Colorado, so playing against Cole Tucker. They're friends. That's fun.
Cool.
To answer your question, I feel like my Little League experience was like a movie. Like the Bad News Bears.
Oh.
My dad, it's pool man. Grandpa.
Buttermaker.
Yeah. So like, a lot of that resonated with me in my childhood. And those are just great movies. Now, we didn't have any 12-year-olds smoking cigarettes on our team. And, we didn't have a girl on our team, although, now my daughter plays, which is awesome. But yeah, that really always hit home with me because they're in the Valley. The coach is a pool man. And my dad doesn't drink alcohol, so he's not like drinking beers in the dugout. But I always loved that movie. I really liked. I also tried to name Teddy Kelly. I wanted my son to be named Kelly, and Olivia shot it down. My favorite Bad News Bears is when they go to the Astrodome.
Let them play.
Let them play. So I don't know. I that's my favorite.
Yeah,
little baseball movie.
You would have been good. You would have been a good Tanner Boyle.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. I would have been Rudy Stein or Ogilvy.
Yeah,
Ogilvy.
Ogilvy.
Would have been Ogilvy. Yeah. That would have been me. Let's see. Well, first of all, I was in Mr. 3000, so I do have a movie credit to my name for that. There you go. And I also believe I was in the movie Major League. I remember going to Old Cleveland Municipal Stadium, which sat 80,000 people. And they said, hey, they're going to be taking overhead shots of the stadium today. So you might be in, one of the overhead shots. And sure enough, I'm sure we were or weren't. But I wanted to be a real extra in that movie. The problem was they didn't shoot it in Cleveland. They shot it at County Stadium in Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. So that was an issue. So if I had a do-over, I would like to have been like a real extra in that movie. That would have been fun.
There's so many good baseball movies.
Very good. Very, very good. All right. We are back at it again on Wednesday. If you're going to join us live on the AMP app, just download that app to your iPhone so you can be a part of the discussion. We had a hard-hitting yelling back and forth before the show today, Plouffe and I. You can only get that if you join us live on the AMP app. You also get to ask us questions, talk to us about what we've said, yell at us if you want to. Just do the whole thing. Wednesday, we'll probably do that probably noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific if you want to join us. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe, better known as Kelly Lee. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Wednesday on Baseball Today.